So George Harrison wrote arguably the biggest hit of his solo career, and then a court decided he had copied it from a girl group without consciously knowing he had done it. The song was My Sweet Lord. I really wanna know you. And the problem was a 1963 record called He's So Fine. Bright Tunes Music filed its lawsuit in 1971, and by the time George sat down to talk about it with Rolling Stone in 1979, the legal battle had been grinding on for most of the decade. He sounded almost bored of it. That has been going on for years, he said. It's like a running joke now. The man who wrote He's So Fine, Ronnie Mack, had died in 1963, and the lawsuit was brought by Bright Tunes, the publishing company that owned the copyright, although Mack's surviving family still had a financial interest in what happened. The court's verdict was a peculiar thing. Judge Richard Owen concluded that the two songs were essentially the same in important musical respects, but he did not believe George had deliberately stolen the melody. Instead, He's So Fine had apparently lodged somewhere in George's memory and resurfaced while he was writing it. It's like subconscious copying. However, that was still considered copyright infringement, whether George knew he was doing it or not. And Bright Tunes continued pursuing the case. George later said the company even tried to bring it back into court after he released this song, his openly comic response to the whole circus. And this song reached number 25 in America, so apparently litigation was not enough to keep George off the radio. But underneath the jokes, the case had done some real damage. It didn't just threaten his money, it poisoned the act of writing music for him itself. Even now, when I put the radio on, every tune I hear sounds like something else, he said. So try to imagine what that was like for George, being one of the most gifted and acclaimed songwriters alive, unable to hear a melody without wondering whether he was accidentally taking it from somebody else. And then the story became considerably uglier. George's former manager, Alan Klein, had been privately negotiating to buy Bright Tunes while George was trying to settle the case. Klein had access to detailed information about George's earnings because he had once managed his business affairs, and if you haven't heard about Alan Klein and the Beatles story, I would encourage you to look into that more. In 1978, Klein's company, Abco, bought the copyright to He's So Fine, along with the lawsuit against George, for $587,000. So his former manager had effectively purchased the right to become the plaintiff against him. In 1981, the court calculated the infringement damages at nearly $1.6 million. But it also ruled that Klein had breached his duty to George by using information and influence gained while serving as his manager. So Abco was thankfully not allowed to collect the full amount. The court limited Klein's recovery to what he had paid for Bright Tunes plus interest and ordered the acquired rights held for George. Even then, it was still not over. Appeals and territorial disputes continued until a final settlement in 1998. And when the dust finally cleared, George controlled the rights to both My Sweet Lord and He's So Fine in the UK and North America. Klein did keep the rights elsewhere though. So at the end of the day, George was held liable for copying a melody he didn't consciously remember doing, and then 27 years later, in the biggest markets at least, the melody belonged to him.